It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at the most nightmare-inducing movies you can watch on Netflix as of February 2024. Just to be on the safe side, look out for potential spoilers.
There's someone out there. There's somebody. They're here.
Number 30. Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. If you're tired of the Hollywood grind, Polish director Bartosz M. Kowalski has this semi-hidden gem for you. It begins with a familiar scenario, involving teens in a camp in the woods, and you'll probably notice other parallels between this and some notably famous horror flicks. But Nobody Sleeps plays these genre tropes like an orchestra, delivering some excitedly surprising scares assembled for die-hard horror fans. As the characters do battle with an unseen killer, the film's well-crafted murder sequences prove that you don't need a big budget for a good fright. It even garnered enough views for a worthy sequel, and that is a double feature we highly recommend. Number 29. Cargo. Zombie-based material has seen a remarkable influx this century, but stories like Cargo keep the genre fresh. The movie doubles as a psychological drama and post-apocalyptic horror.
You have to take her.
What do you mean?
You have to take her.
What are you talking about?
You have to take her. You have to
Blue,
take her.
stop. Just stop.
After his wife turns and he's infected as well, Andy Rose has to ensure his infant daughter's safety. That's easier said than done, as braving the Australian outback presents its own challenge.
There'll be more. They would have heard that shot for miles. Better keep that baby quiet too.
While the tried and tested zombie tropes are thrilling, Cargo's fear factor comes from Andy's desperation. By following the main character, we experience the same race against time he undergoes. It is a chilling depiction of the fragility of life, particularly when the protagonist's fate is sealed. Number 28. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. Survival horrors tend to go bigger with their sequels. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged is no exception. The original focuses on two women in a cage surrounded by sharks. The follow-up is about a group trapped in a sunken city with more sharks on the prowl.
Guys, there's a shark. Mia, what is it? There's a shark. I'm serious. It killed Ben.
Unlike most other shark-based thrillers, Uncaged doesn't contain a lot of gore. But it manages to be just as scary thanks to an atmospheric style of direction. Its dark, confined environment creates a sense of paranoia.
We're gonna die.
If we stay here, we'll die. We're gonna watch each other's backs.
The gut-wrenching deaths that usually happen out of nowhere always have an impact. Surprisingly layered characters make us root for them to survive. However, the film firmly stands by the anyone can die rule. Number 27. Dawn of the Dead. With Zack Snyder's directorial debut, he injected some adrenaline into a George A. Romero classic. He and screenwriter James Gunn recooked the original shopping mall setting to favor action and scares over social satire. The result is a pulse-pounding game of catch between gory chase sequences and quiet scenes of claustrophobic tension.
Is everyone there dead?
Dead-ish.
Is everyone there dead?
Rather than lumbering along like typical lethargic zombies, these brain eaters run just as fast as sentient humans. That makes the brutes even more menacing, and it forces our survivors to continuously invent creative ways to outsmart them. Dawn of the Dead received praise for its ability to honor the original while remaining accessible to new fans. So whether you love the zombie genre or you will love it, this frightmare is for you.
All right. That's it.
You sure?
I ain't no plumber, but I'd say we're pretty much at the end of the line, yeah.
Number 26. The Platform. Among the most creative films in recent times, The Platform serves as a profound allegory about greed and deception. It shows the lengths people will go to when backed against an impenetrable wall. The characters are trapped in a tower-style vertical prison, receiving food via a platform. The lower a person's cell is, the smaller amounts of food they receive.
Entonces no sabe que la gente está muriendo en el hoyo.
Nosotros preferimos llamarlo centro vertical de autogestión.
Main character Goreng is randomly moved to different cells at the end of each month. He battles between his moralities and the temptation to harm someone else to survive. The platform's stifling backdrop is complemented by its dystopian themes. The movie will make you avert your eyes several times as the characters become more willing to kill.
Lo importante es el mensaje.
Number 25, Under the Shadow. Taking place in 80s war-torn Iran, a seemingly supernatural evil is the main villain in this psychological horror. Medical student Shide and her daughter are forced to stay inside to avoid bombardment. Unfortunately for them, they're seemingly targeted by a jinn who antagonizes them at every turn. Under the Shadow leaves enough ambiguity for viewers to interpret. The entity can be seen as a manifestation of Shide's own trauma. Whatever lens you view the film through, it succeeds in relaying the helplessness of its protagonist. The more the situation escalates, the more she loses her grip on reality. Under the Shadow deftly treads the line between horror and social commentary. It is a striking reminder that fear can take many forms. Number 24, Cam. Not every horror movie needs death and destruction. In Cam's case, the movie provides its thrills through a confusingly suspenseful plotline. Webcam model Alice's life is turned upside down when she discovers someone copying her content. This goes beyond identity theft, though, as the fake Alice turns out to be an identical doppelganger.
What are you even saying? That she stole the password from my computer, found somebody who looks exactly like you, convinced them to buy your account, all in one night?
The real Alice watches everything unraveling before her eyes. Her attempts to expose the fraud take her down a dangerous rabbit hole that becomes increasingly complex. The dangers of the internet have been explored in films before, but Cam keeps things fresh with frequent mind-bending plot twists.
You stole my face. You stole my face. You stole my face, and now I'm going to get it back. You stole my face, and now I'm going to get it back.
Number 23, There's Someone Inside Your House. The most memorable slashers generally feature villains with an edge. In this film, the antagonist slays his victims while wearing masks that resemble them. It contains the classic template for the genre. A mysterious killer hunts high school students one by one. As the characters try to figure out who it is, they begin to suspect each other. There's Someone Inside Your House isn't a reinvention, but it does get hearts thumping. The killer's relentless pursuit paves the way for brutal kills that are hard to stomach. Plus, the whodunit outline works well in keeping viewers invested until the grand reveal. Number 22, Alive. #Alive begins with gamer Oh Jin-woo in his apartment when chaos ensues outside. Zombies swarm the streets, attacking everyone and leaving Jin-woo isolated in his home trying to communicate with the outside world. Upon its release in September 2020, this South Korean zombie thriller quickly shot to the top of the Netflix charts. Premiering during the COVID-19 pandemic made it prime lockdown viewing. Zombies have become so repetitive that they're hardly scary anymore. So another movie about escaping hordes of the undead doesn't exactly stand out. But it's the prolonged isolation that makes #Alive an especially chilling horror flick that we want to see. Number 21, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. Due to some impressive cinematography, this film is as aesthetically suffocating as required. With a minimal cast, the focus is on a haunted house with malicious intent.
Well, maybe I'll bake a pie. I think I saw some blackberries. Oh, Jesus.
When nurse Lily Saylor becomes caretaker to an elderly woman, she senses the presence of a specter. Lily's bid to learn the truth runs concurrently with Polly Parsons' story in 1812. The latter is connected to the present through the house. Audiences are kept in the dark about what's really going on.
It is a terrible thing to look at oneself, and to all the while see nothing.
The constant feeling of being watched sticks with us throughout its runtime. Those looking for a throwback to older scary movies will appreciate the film's slow burn format. Number 20, Incantation. Found footage films are something of an acquired taste. The camera style may not be for everybody, but creative storytelling goes a long way. Incantation holds interest through a non-linear framing device. We also have an unreliable narrator in the protagonist Ronan. The plot weaves in and out between the haunting of Ronan's daughter and the events that caused it.
可是这么多天不吃东西，小孩子没问题吗？这看年着我甲塞的性命，你嘛是做袂到，无咱甲食落好啊，卖走。
From the folk horror roots of the villain to the supernatural execution of its scares, the film combines elements from multiple genres. It also benefits from its cast, whose convincing portrayals sell its premise. Released when the found footage format was past its prime, Incantation reminds us why this filmmaking technique can still be so effective.
如果我可以让更多人看到这个事情跟这个符号，也许就可以多帮他分担一些。
Number 19, The Perfection. Former cellist prodigy Charlotte returns to the elite world of classical music after an abrupt departure and years of caring for her terminally ill mother. After her mother's passing, Charlotte travels to Shanghai to meet up with her old mentor Anton and his new protege. Lizzie is essentially living the life Charlotte would have had if she stayed. Naturally, she's jealous, but there's also an attraction between the women. Once the two spend the night together, it doesn't take long for things to spiral out of control.
They're in your hand. You have to get them out, Lizzie. Lizzie, you have to stop it. It's inside of you. You have to stop it.
The Perfection is unpredictable, thrilling, and at times, pretty gross. But it's one twisted Netflix original that's sure to exceed expectations. Number 18, Silent Hill.
Honey, sometimes when you go to sleep, you go on a little walk. And sometimes you talk about a place called Silent Hill.
The Silent Hill series revolutionized the gaming landscape, converting the main character's darkest thoughts into a spooky ghost town. The film version shoots for similar heights. While its faithfulness is debatable, this adaptation's stunning visuals immediately capture the attention. The spooky rendition of the titular town serves as the backdrop for a mother's search for her missing daughter. Rose's journey is riddled with interferences from a delusional cult out to get her.
Are you a person of faith?
I love my daughter.
It's not what I asked.
The story can be confusing in places, but Silent Hill's overall presentation is its winning quality. Everything from the dark filter to the smog-filled streets will leave a chill up your spine. Number 17, Annabelle. One of the highlights from The Conjuring was the debut of the creepy Annabelle doll. Fan requests were granted when the doll received its own spin-off. The prequel reveals its whereabouts before falling into the Warrens' possession. After a married couple becomes the doll's new owners, strange things begin to happen.
There are things happening that I can't explain.
What things? Baby, are you sure they're not just manifestations of your anxiety?
Getting rid of Annabelle is easier said than done, as the entity inside latches itself to its victims. The movie builds up its scares through a mixture of tension and suspense. Then again, the general appearance of Annabelle is enough to give anyone nightmares. Much like The Conjuring, Annabelle's brand of horror leaves you wondering if someone's right behind you, waiting to claim your soul. Number 16, Crimson Peak. In 2015, the immensely talented Guillermo del Toro gave us gothic romance at its best. This beautifully crafted ghost story follows Edith, a young American heiress/aspiring writer, as she's wooed by Sir Thomas Sharp. After they marry, she moves into Allerdale Hall, the family estate in England, which he shares with his cold-as-ice sister, Lucille.
I have to leave. I have to get away from here.
Edith, this is your home now. You have nowhere else to go.
The dilapidated mansion holds many secrets for Edith to uncover. She's no stranger to spirits, but the ghostly inhabitants in Crimson Peak are horrifying nonetheless. Between the star-studded cast and stunning Edwardian-era setting, it's sure to give you a fright. And an endorsement from Stephen King doesn't hurt either. Number 15, Lights Out. If you're afraid of the dark, then this movie will reconfirm your fears. Even with today's technology, it's nearly impossible to stay under lights all the time. Here, a violent spirit targets its victims under the cloak of darkness. For Rebecca and her family, this means living in a constant state of terror. The film plays out in a frenzy of jump scares and in-your-face moments to unsettle viewers. The premise is a clever spin on a fear many people share. Because of this, the characters' struggles are easy to relate to. Although the manner in which it frightens audiences isn't new, Lights Out does it so well that it feels entirely original. Just be sure to keep the lights on while you're watching the movie.
What now?
Mom! Mom!
Number 14, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Based on the children's horror book series, this adaptation combines several stories into one. A group of teenagers finds a book that writes stories before their eyes. Even worse, these seemingly fictional tales turn out to be true.
You don't read the book. The book reads you.
The mystery behind the antagonist is the main hook around which all the fright-filled sequences occur. The one who's being written about becomes a target, doomed to a terrible fate.
Stories hurt. Stories heal. Do you know what you have done?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark's energetic brand of storytelling is appealing to a younger audience. But the scares are wild enough to interest older viewers as well. Number 13, Ouija, Origin of Evil. Ouija boards have long been synonymous with inviting chaos. If this movie is any indication, it's best to steer clear of them altogether.
Hey, what's this?
New prop for work.
2014's Ouija was commercially successful but critically panned. The prequel flips the script for an origin story that's disturbing in every way. After purchasing a Ouija board as part of their spiritual medium act, a family summons an entity for real. The rest of the film follows the youngest daughter's possession, as the spirit refuses to let go.
You see stars, then darkness. And the last thing you feel is cold.
Ouija Origin of Evil goes for a subtle narrative, easing into scenes before startling audiences when they least see it coming. It leaves no doubt that when a spirit is out to get you, there really might be no escape. Number 12, Apostle. After his father receives a ransom letter, it's up to Thomas Richardson to go rescue his sister Jennifer. She's being held on Erisden, a secluded Welsh island inhabited by a mysterious cult led by Prophet Malcolm Howe. Thomas poses as a follower and infiltrates the island, searching for Jennifer and always looking over his shoulder. The premise is scary in itself, but the cult's practices, which include blood sacrifice and violent methods for punishment, are truly terrifying. The film is a slow-burning folk horror tale filled with dread. If you liked The Witch and The Wicker Man, Apostle is right up your alley. Number 11, Malignant.
It's time. We cut out the cancer.
Interestingly, the film's title gives away its plot twist, and yet it's almost impossible to predict anyway. What starts as a psychological thriller morphs into full-blown horror by the end. When abused victim Madison begins dreaming about deaths around her, she learns they're turning into reality. To make things worse, her childhood imaginary friend Gabriel somehow appears to be behind it.
He pretends to be nice. But he's the devil.
The revelations behind Madison's birth and her true identity add another layer of suspense to the film. But just when you think you've figured out the plot, the movie makes you see that you really haven't. Malignant has one surprise after the next, keeping viewers entertained and terrified at the same time. Number 10, Creep.
Death. It's coming.
Mark Duplass is known for acting in shows like The League and The Morning Show, as well as running a production company with his brother Jay. But he reaches an impressive level of scariness in Creep, which he also co-wrote.
Are you just trying to scare me? Or... Okay, Well, I'm terrified, okay?
This found footage-style psychological thriller follows Aaron, a videographer traveling to a remote cabin to meet his client, the clearly unstable Joseph. The film has its funny moments, given the absurdity of Joseph's requests and his increasingly unsettling behavior. But the overall atmosphere is eerie, and just like Aaron, we are constantly on edge. Duplass returned to the role in the 2017 sequel, where he's just as playfully sinister as before.
Aaron, come on.
Really? All right. Get you at some point.
Number 9, Geralds Game.
This is gonna be good for us, Jess. Really good.
Before director Mike Flanagan gave us the excellent Netflix original horror series The Haunting of Hill House, he proved himself on the streaming service with his adaptation of the Stephen King novel Gerald's Game. Just the basic premise is enough to give you nightmares. A couple, Gerald and Jesse, attempt to rekindle their relationship with a romantic weekend getaway. Unfortunately, things go from bad to worse when Gerald has a fatal heart attack, leaving Jesse handcuffed to the bed. Equal parts fascinating and terrifying, the film is a psychological horror that stands out from the crowd.
Not real. Not real.
Number 8, The Strangers. Few things are scarier than a killer without a motive. Now, multiply that by 3 and you've got The Strangers. James and Kristen endure the most hellish of nights possible, as they're hunted by a trio of masked murderers. The antagonists hunt the duo for their sick amusement. The film depicts the couple's attempts to evade their stalkers. However, the killers are always one step ahead of them.
Now open the door, and I just want you to run, okay?
The Strangers isn't for the faint of heart. After brimming with suspense for most of its runtime, the finale serves as a brutal payoff. By the end, we're left wondering how anyone can be capable of such unprovoked violence. So remember, if a stranger knocks at your door at 4 a.m., it's best to leave it unanswered.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you were home.
Number 7, Fear Street Part 2, 1978.
Tommy?
What the hell are you doing, man?
Tommy?
Netflix's 2021 Fear Street trilogy was a horror fan's dream, or maybe nightmare. Based on R.L. Stine's book series of the same name, the entire trilogy is a must-watch. Part 1, 1994, is the familiar 90s teen slasher, while Part 3, 1666, fits more in the rustic folk horror aesthetic. In Part 2, 1978, we see the events of the Camp Nightwing massacre play out.
Tommy?
It's a bloody good time, especially if you're nostalgic for classic killer camp films like Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp. Maybe it's the woods or, the axe-wielding madman, but Part 2, 1978 is definitely the scariest of the 3. Number 6, Veronica.
Veronica? Veronica? Hola.
Young teen girl, Ouija board, demonic possession, an alleged true story, Veronica is a film with a lot of familiar elements. But trust us when we say that in the case of this particular movie, those add up to something memorable and truly terrifying. A Spanish-language film set in Madrid in 1991, Veronica follows the titular heroine as she succumbs to the influence of a demonic force after partaking in a seance during a solar eclipse.
Mira, ¿lo has movido tú?
The relationship between Veronica and her siblings gives the film a real emotional core, while director Paco Plaza's experienced hand ensures a heavy and consistent dose of fear. Number 5, The Ritual. Based on the 2011 novel by Adam Neville, The Ritual takes us to the Swedish wilderness, where 4 friends, Phil, Dom, Hutch, and Luke, go hiking in honor of their deceased friend Rob. Luke is plagued by nightmares, replaying the night of Rob's unexpected death, which he witnessed and could have prevented. The journey becomes more challenging as the lads argue, sustain injuries, and take shortcuts that just get them lost. With a supernatural creature hunting them down and a forest littered with mysterious symbols of witchcraft, they must do whatever they can to survive. Number 4. The Wailing. A film that'll have you questioning what's real and what isn't. The Wailing is designed to be a mind-boggling experience. After a stranger arrives in a small village, unexplainable events begin to occur. Policeman Chung-gu finds himself at the center of an incoming calamity and resolves to stop it. Unfortunately for him, the demonic entity responsible leaves a trail of pain and terror in its wake.
끄집껏 쳐넣기 전에 똑바로 말하라게.
The Wailing doesn't shy away from displaying cringe horror through gruesome imagery. But it also carries hard-hitting themes of panic and hysteria that are arguably even more distressing. And thanks to a solid screenplay, the movie will have you thinking well past its 156-minute runtime.
절대 현혹되지 마소. 절대 그년이 뭔 말을 하든 당장에 자네 딸한테 가야 되네. 뭔 말인지 알겠는가?
Number 3. Insidious. At the time of its release, Insidious took the horror industry by storm. Made on a relatively low budget, audiences flocked to cinemas to check out this otherworldly feature. Here, a young boy becomes a conduit for supernatural entities from the astral plane.
I'm scared, Mom.
Scared of what?
Dalton.
Of course, this reveal comes after numerous freaky moments that will make your hair stand up. With something frightening in almost every scene, the film style is similar to classic horror movies.
But there are other entities who are malevolent and have a more insidious agenda.
Insidious does one better, carving out a unique lore around the dreaded dimension known as the Further. From featuring creepy demon appearances to maintaining a tense atmosphere, the film sucks audiences into its claws and never lets go. Number 2. It Follows. It Follows manages to be completely original while channeling the classic teen slashers of the past. When it came out in 2014, it was immediately one of the best horror films of the year, or even the decade.
Don't open the door. See? Everything's okay.
The plot is simple. A supernatural entity follows you until it's passed to another person through sex. And when Jay contracts this supernatural STI from Hugh, she and her friends have to figure out how to stop it. However, Jay is the only one who sees its many forms walking towards her. There's some seriously chilling imagery here that will stay with you for a while. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. His House. This isn't exactly your typical haunted house movie. South Sudanese refugees Bol and Rial settle into their new home outside of London. And while there's a sense of relief that they now have a roof over their heads, it's hard to adjust to this new life for reasons both realistic and terrifying. His House explores the immigrant experience and the harrowing journey of asylum seekers. But to make things worse, they have to fight against the spirits within the walls of their home. It is a hell of a debut from Remy Weeks, who perfectly blends real social issues with genuine horror. Which Netflix horror movie will have you hiding behind the couch? Let us know in the comments.
They used to say this place was haunted. I think they were right.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.